I had a founder come to me with a $5,000 app and it looked great, but it just had one problem. 0 users. Not because the idea was bad, but he built it before he validated it. Here's the crazy part. Zappos, Airbnb, DoorDash, all these billion-dollar apps have been started without any code. They did everything manually. Today I'll show you exactly what they did, what they learned, and how you can replicate that to attract a technical partner. We will go through $5 billion concierge MVPs, the exact moment they finally started coding, and a simple way for you to use this to prove real demand. Section 1. Zappos, the founder who drove through malls. In 1999, Nick Swinmurn couldn't find shoes in his size. Most people would build an e-commerce site. He didn't. He walked into the next shoe store and said, "I will photograph your shoes, post them online, and if anyone orders, I'll come back and buy from you at full price." 0 inventory, 0 automation, minimal tech. The reality. Every time an order came in, he literally drove to the mall, bought the shoes in the respective size, went home and packaged them up and sold them online. He did this until Zappos hit 8.6 million in sales. The inside? Tony C almost ignored Swinmurn's pitch. Until he heard this one thing. 5% of all shoes were already sold by mail order catalogs. The behavior existed, he just needed to test a new channel. This is why I tell founders, don't invent behavior. See what people are already doing and then make it easier. One of my early SaaS tools worked because we saw a behavior that was already a workflow people were doing and we automated that to alleviate that pain point. Section 2. Food on the table. One customer at Starbucks. Before writing a single line of code, Manuel Rosso walked through grocery stores and asked people, would you like to have a personalized meal plan? One person said yes. After that, for weeks, Rosso would personally come to their home on Sundays. He collected grocery coupons, reviewed sales receipts, and then delivered customized meal plans. They met at a Starbucks and they paid him $9.99 per month. He talked to 150 plus customers before writing any line of code. What he said is this: if you can't get someone to adopt your idea with a high-touch, face-to-face service, they're not going to click your code landing page. That founder who paid $5,000 for his app, well, he could have just done a face-to-face interaction and seen that nobody wanted his app. A concierge MVP is the solution to not make that mistake. Section number 3. Airbnb founders who slept on couches. Airbnb didn't start with a platform. They started with 3 air mattresses on the floor for $80 per night. The first guests even paid $1,000 in total. Later on, when the platform was built out, they found that the listings were not converting. So they flew personally to New York City and took photos of the listings and put them online for free in order to increase the conversion rate. Brian Chesky, the founder, said, "If you buy an iPhone, Steve Jobs doesn't come to your house to deliver it to you." But that's what we did at Airbnb. The new photos increased the bookings by 2 to 3 times and the revenue doubled in just a month. And in 2008, they nearly went bankrupt. So they designed Obama's O cereal boxes for $40 each and they made $20,000 in the process. In that way, they had more runway in order to survive so they could reach the Y Combinator Startup Accelerator program. Paul Graham, one of the YC founders, said, "If you can convince people to pay $40 for a cereal, maybe you can convince strangers to live with each other." This is why in my partnerships, where we build software projects together with non-technical founders, I pay for the software development because I want to make sure that the risk is on our side. So if our development takes longer, the non-technical co-founder does not pay for that. In the end, I want founders who show commitment first and see that they have validated the product. So if they do the work up front, so can I. Section 4. DoorDash, delivering food during lectures. In 2013, a Stanford student put up a simple website with the delivery options into the lectures. Price of the delivery, $6. And the only drivers on the platform were the founders. The tech was laughably simple. Google Docs for the orders, Square for the payments, and Find My Friends for driver tracking. One of the founders, Stanley Tang, said, "We were the human algorithm behind the scenes." The macaroon shop moment. They found product market fit by doing interviews from the door-to-door deliveries, until they met a bakery owner who had so many delivery requests that they couldn't fulfill. Through the concierge MVP, they were able to have the first order in just 45 minutes. And now they are a $60 billion company. I sometimes see founders add 3 to 4 more features without the first feature even working and being needed by the market. DoorDash didn't build more, they validated first. Section number 5, fireflies.ai, the meeting transcription bot that was actually just two guys in a Zoom meeting. Fireflies.ai sells AI transcriptions. But in the beginning, Fred from Fireflies was actually the human bot joining the meetings and typing in the notes. The reality, they did this for a dozen customers, and that paid for the rent in San Francisco. Only when they were totally exhausted, they started to automate, and now they're a $1 billion company. There is a line though, Concierge MVP, that's when people know that it's actually a white glove service behind the scenes. There's also a so-called Wizard of Oz, and that's when it's a black box and people actually think it's an algorithm, but people are behind that. I think short tests are fine to validate a product, but don't raise millions on the premise that you actually have an algorithm that in the end is just people. See the example of Nate Inc. He faces 40 years in prison. Section number 6, why Concierge MVPs gives you partnership leverage. Here's the truth. Most founders come to the developers way too early. No validation, no customers, just an idea. Why would any technical partner take them seriously? What the Concierge MVP proves is this. People will actually pay. You understand the workflow. You can sell. You reduce the builder's risk. You're not an idea guy. I once had a Concierge MVP myself, which I invalidated. So I tried to work with that and I had a customer, but I decided to stop it, which is also a good outcome given that the other path could have been building for years and then never making any money. In 2016, I had a lead generation API. That was a service that would get the blog post frequency, like the post frequency of any business, and try to put those people in a list that were abandoning their blog. And these lists would be used then by marketing agencies in order to sell their services. Yes, I had a customer, and yes, I sold it and they knew what they got, but then they tried to use it and they didn't have the results that I was expecting. So we decided to fold it, as this approach for cold emailing was not the best one. My partnership rule. I only partner with people who have an existing audience or already a validated idea. The best partners are the people who have done the homework first before they start the technical part. And I had learned that the hard way because I previously partnered with someone who just wanted to make a knockoff product and then succeed with something that wouldn't even come close to the original. And we sunk a couple of months' time into that and it was a total failure, and I'm never gonna do this again. And this is actually a really good thing for developers, because if you come with existing customers and a problem that you wanna have solved, the developer will have a super easy time to fix that exact problem. Because there's no guesswork. There's no, I believe this feature will work. And then you keep adding more features and the developer will be confused because there's no priority. If you haven't Concierge MVP, then you know exactly what you gotta build. Zappos small runs, now a $1.2 billion business. Food on the table, one Starbucks customer, 1 million users. Airbnb, photos and air mattresses, $100 billion plus valuation. DoorDash, founders delivered food, $60 billion valuation. Fireflies AI, human note takers, a $1 billion valuation. The pattern's always the same. Prove demand manually. Learn the workflow and then automate. If you can't sell face-to-face, then the code won't help you. If you want the checklist that I use in order to decide if a non-tech partner has validated their idea enough, then look into the description of this video where there is a link where you can download that for free. And also subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this.